I'm going to make a bold statement right now. Even if every single Bitcoin mining rig in the world were running off volcanic energy, it wouldn't save proof of work. Ready? Let's go. Bitcoiners are really excited right now. I mean, really excited that volcanoes are going to solve their energy consumption problems. I love renewable energy too. I think it's a wonderful thing. However, I'm going to make the case that as soon as the Gen 3 blockchains had proved themselves out, there was no chance that renewable energy was ever going to save proof of work. But before we get to that, we're going to cover a little bit of Cardano news. If you had any questions whatsoever in your mind about how much we would have to sell the idea of Cardano to the crypto world once smart contracts are launched, just feast your eyes on this tweet. This is Zapper_Fi. Yesterday, we discovered a vulnerability in our old Polygon Bridge smart contract that would allow an attacker to steal funds that had unlimited approvals. We exploited the vulnerability ourselves, and all the funds have been rescued. A post-mortem will follow soon. This is June 2021, guys. This is not 2018. This is right now. This stuff is happening on the legacy smart contract systems. I don't even know where to place the blame. Is it the selection of programming languages like Solidity? Is it systemic things like global state, like we see in the account balance system of Ethereum? There's so many different factors we could look at when trying to assign, the source of all of these exploitable smart contracts. But what we do know for sure is that the legacy smart contract systems are riddled with these kinds of problems. We see this over and over and over again. And this is like the best possible outcome, right? The project itself found the vulnerability. I mean, I don't even know if they found it. Well, they say we discovered. A lot of times they're tipped off by somebody, and then a project might claim that they actually found it, but they're saying we discovered a vulnerability, and then they exploit it themselves, take all the funds out, and launch a new smart contract. How many times have we seen this? Guys, we're not going to need to sell Cardano to the crypto world. The use case is already built in, right? Everybody's seen this so much over the last few years. There's just this air that better things must be on the way, right? If this is as good as it gets, we're wasting our time. I think everybody feels it. They're just, this tweet has the little hands praying emoji, but I think the little hands praying emoji really represents, please let there be a better smart contract system on the way. And I think that is coming in the next few months in Cardano. We recently covered the Tanzanian president instructing her country's central bank to prepare for cryptocurrencies and blockchains. And it was notable that she didn't say Bitcoin, right? We see President Nayib Bukele talking about Bitcoin. We see a lot of world leaders talking about Bitcoin. She didn't mention Bitcoin. She obviously said cryptocurrency and blockchain. That was a little bit interesting and mysterious. And then we also saw a very mysterious tweet from John O'Connor, Director of African Operations for IOHK, where he said he had spent the morning drinking delicious Ethiopian coffee and also writing a letter to a president of a nation. Then we see this very tantalizing response from the CEO of World Mobile, who you already know is helping to connect rural sub-Saharan Africans with the rest of the world by putting up this mesh network of cellular towers in places like rural Tanzania. His tweet said, "The early bird catches the worm, telecoms plus blockchain plus Tanzania equal World Mobile Team, WMT Cardano." This was in response to a report from Market Meditations on the Tanzanian president urging the central bank to prepare for crypto. This is super interesting. We don't know exactly what this means, right? How deep are the connections between World Mobile and Cardano and the current Tanzanian government? Did she say cryptocurrencies and blockchain as opposed to Bitcoin because she already knows? She knows what we know, that you want programmability, you want proof of stake, and you actually want a system that works. This is an interesting detail. I'm going to be excited to follow this as it develops. Maybe we're moving towards Cardano there. Maybe not, but things are very interesting at this point. It's volcano time. The Bitcoin world is a flutter with talk of running Bitcoin mining rigs off volcanoes. This Twitter post says each one of these volcanoes is a way for these countries that have been oppressed by the IMF, World Bank, and G7 to mine Bitcoin with 100% renewable energy. The dominoes are falling. And then he posted a map of what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, a lot of volcanoes from Guatemala all the way to Panama City. All of Central America's volcanoes, as near as I can tell. It's a lot of volcanoes. And this is not the only volcano tweet. There are a lot. This tweet wasn't even content to keep it in Central America. They are going global. Look at this. They start out in Central America, and then they're in South America, and then they're going across the Pacific. They're in Europe. They're in Alaska, Iceland, Democratic Republic of Congo, I think, Indonesia, Philippines, New Guinea, Japan. They're going volcano mining everywhere. They're talking about the entire world of Bitcoin mining being run on volcanic energy. This all started because the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, who I think kind of heroically adopted Bitcoin as legal tender in El Salvador, he started posting about volcanoes. I sent a drone to film one of the new wells, nice rainbow, Bitcoin mining with the power of volcanoes. I mean, there's a rainbow in the video. How can you not get behind this? The happiest thing ever. Soon that well is going to look like this, and half a mile from it, the Bitcoin mining facility, designing that as we tweet. So you almost feel like a criminal not applauding this. It's crypto, it's renewable energy. It involves, a wonderful Central American republic, volcanoes. It's all wonderful, right? Everybody wants to get behind this. Then you have to think about what's actually going on here, right? So let's imagine another use case for energy, transportation, right? Let's imagine that Ford Motor Company decides what they've been doing so far with electric vehicles doesn't work, and they want to compete with Tesla, and they're going to scrap everything they've done, the electric F-150, all that stuff. That's all gone. They're going to start over. But they come out with an electric vehicle that uses like 1,000, 10,000 times more energy than a Tesla to drive a mile, right? It uses whatever the ratio of energy usage between Bitcoin and Cardano currently is. Let's say it uses, 10,000 times more energy to drive a mile than a Tesla. But Ford says, hey, don't worry, guys. We're installing supercharger stations. I'm pretty sure Tesla probably has that trademark, so I probably can't say that. But Ford Lightning charger stations. Oh, that's even better for Bitcoin. Ford Lightning charger stations across your country, wherever you live, across your country. We're going to have Ford Lightning charger stations, and they will be powered by harnessing the energy of volcanoes. It's all going to be geothermal, guys, completely clean. Look at this. The smoke coming out of the well, it's not even smoke. It's steam. We're going back to the steam engine era here. I know geothermal plants are not steam engines, don't worry. But Ford is like, it's completely clean. Don't worry about the fact that we are using the least efficient electric vehicle system ever conceived, and it's 10,000 times less energy efficient than a Tesla. Don't worry about that. Ford Lightning vehicles are 100% renewable clean energy, right? It sounds good. You're like, well, I can't complain about Ford Lightning vehicles because they use 100% clean, green, renewable energy. Okay, here's the problem, guys. We've got so much energy production in the world. So we'll say this is production. And we've got so much energy usage in the world. I think we can agree on those two things. There's a finite amount of production and there's a certain amount of usage. And we can also say that geothermal energy production already exists. I know it does because I was in a geothermal plant as a child, which was a long time ago, guys. Okay, and then we've got other types of green energy, right? We've got other types of green energy, and I have no idea what these percentages are. I'll let you Google how much renewable energy is as a slice of the total energy production global pie versus non-renewable energy, right? And here we're talking about things like wind and solar, and I think there are plants that harvest energy from waves rolling in, all that kind of stuff, right? All the renewable energy. And I'm not drawing this to scale. I have no idea what the ratio of geothermal to the rest of renewable energy is, right? And then we've got all the rest of this bad energy, the petro stuff, right? Coal, all this bad stuff, right? We've had this for a long time, right? We've had windmills producing energy for a long time. We've had solar cells producing energy for a long time. We've had all this stuff for a long time. There's X amount of production. And we would all love it if this red slice of the pie got way, way bigger. We would love it if it got way, way bigger. Or if the green part got way, way bigger. We want that black part to get smaller because we know fossil fuels, pollution, all that stuff. We're running out of it. We know it's bad. The red and the green have got to get much bigger, and the black part has got to get much smaller. But this is kind of the fixed pie of production. And then under usage, we've got all kinds of stuff. We've got like transportation, and we've got houses, electricity to residential use, and electricity for industrial use. We've got all kinds of stuff, all kinds of ways we use energy in here, right? And we've got a wide variety of usages. And we've got this thing, we've got this Bitcoin energy usage, and I won't bore you guys with the numbers on how many gigawatts different crypto ecosystems use. You all know Bitcoin uses way, way more. Bitcoin uses way, way more than like Cardano as far as usage goes. And yes, I know these aren't to scale. I know the ratios aren't like this, but Cardano uses a tiny, tiny bit compared to the massive amount used by Bitcoin. Here's the thing. We've only got so much energy over here, right? So much energy being produced over on this side over here. We would love it to look like this. We would love it to be like this, right? Even if that happens, we're still only producing so much energy. The total energy production pie is still only so big. And we've still got all these different usages over here. We've still got this and this and this and this and this and this, and they're all completely outside of crypto. Those parts, we want those to change too. We'd like to use a lot less energy to do certain things. We want to do everything efficiently, but we've still got a lot of energy usage outside of crypto energy usage. So the problem with this argument about volcanoes and Bitcoin is that no matter how much, even if all of this usage right here is completely tied to this, it's still using way too much energy, right? It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's all coming from here. If this energy, 100% of this is coming from the red section of the pie, if it's using way too much, right? If it's using this much, it's still too much. We've still only got this pie to divide up with all of the usage, right? Let's say the Bitcoin energy is going to use this much. Let's say all the Bitcoin miners get on volcano power. They all get on volcano power and they use this much. Cardano or some other proof of stake coin, it would maybe only use this much. right? It doesn't matter if 100% of the energy used in Bitcoin mining is coming from geothermal. It's still using too much energy. Just like if the Ford Lightning vehicles were using 100% geothermal energy, if they used 1,000 or 10,000 times as much energy to drive 1 mile, they still wouldn't be a good idea. That's because for every unit of energy the proof of work mining is using, there's somebody over here, right? Somebody over here trying to light their house at night, right? If the Bitcoin mining is using one energy of this finite amount of renewable energy, if one unit is going to Bitcoin mining, that is one less unit that can't go here to light this person's house. And this person has got to use the ugly black energy, the oil, the coal, all this stuff. They were driven out of the renewable energy use and into this because the Bitcoin mining power usage is using too much energy. Okay, the next argument is always, but Bitcoin mining is gonna subsidize the build out of the renewable energy. Okay, right? I get that that's what everybody's driving at. But anytime you negotiate with a government, and usually if you're gonna build any kind of like big renewable energy thing, a wind farm, a geothermal plant, right? You're gonna need to get permits from some municipal government, regional government, national level government, right? And they're going to negotiate concessions from you. They're going to negotiate these concessions from you, right? Because they don't want you to build this awesome renewable energy thing and they don't get their piece of that, right? So the Salvadorian government, like President Bukele, you don't accomplish the things he's accomplished without being super clever. And he's going to be super clever about the way he deals with this. So if let's say this could go down a couple different ways, but let's say some big VC funded Bitcoin mining consortium comes in and they partner with President Bukele to build out a geothermal plant, the energy from which they will pump into a Bitcoin mining facility. So if that works, I mean, the way governments negotiate these things, it's never like, oh, go ahead and build that. We love renewable energy. We don't want anything, right? That's not the way it works. So what will happen is during the building phase, the government will be like, okay, great. You pump lots of money into this geothermal facility and we'll have you pay like zero taxes and we'll be super cool with making sure it's really easy for your construction crews and your employees to live down here in El Salvador. And we're going to love you guys building this thing out. And then in like years 1 through 5 of operation of this geothermal plant, like you guys go ahead and take, like whatever, 80% of the energy from the geothermal plant. And you guys, use that for your BTC mining. Go for it. You guys do that. And we'll just take like 20% of the energy. And this could take the form of energy or, the Salvadorian government's getting paid, but somehow the Salvadorian government or some utility, some utility related to the government, the government names, is like going to get some piece of that, whether it's like money or actual energy, something, right? And then in years like 5 through 10, it starts getting worse, right? It starts getting better for the Salvadorian government. All of a sudden they're getting 40% and the Bitcoin guys are getting 60. And then you've got this year 10 through 15, and maybe it's gotten to like 50-50 here, right? It's gotten through 50-50. So what doesn't change here is, like the rest of this energy, this is either going to be energy or like fees or taxes paid, this El Salvadorian portion of this, right? If it's energy, that just gets fed back into the open market, right? It gets fed back into the open market. And they're not going to say, hey, we're getting half the geothermal energy from our volcano plant here. Everybody can buy it, which is, hopefully going to make the price of energy cheaper in our country, except the proof of stake protocol guys can't buy that because we're all about Bitcoin. They're not going to say that. They're just going to sell it to anybody. So the proof of stake guys will then be able to buy this energy. And it's still going to be the very, very inefficient, like hypothetical Ford Lightning electric vehicle versus the 10,000 times more efficient Tesla vehicle, right? The proof of stake guys are still going to be way, way more efficient. They're going to use way less energy to validate blocks, right? So even though up here, like these are going to look, very, very cheap or free, right? Because these guys, these Bitcoin guys, prepaid. They prepaid all this, but these are they paid for this by building out this plant, right? So, and maybe it's worth it for them. Maybe they figured out so the difference between how much they paid for the plant versus the cheap or free energy is worth it, but it doesn't change the fact that this is still the hypothetical Ford Lightning vehicle that costs 10,000 times as much in energy to drive a mile. Another option here is that the Salvadorian government builds everything. They build the geothermal plant, they build the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin mining operation. El Salvador builds 100%. They pay for 100% of the build. And then they use 100% of the energy for BTC mining, So they have now prepaid the energy, right, for all of their mining, all their Bitcoin mining, right? They prepaid it by investing in this plant, right? And they're using 100% of it for the Bitcoin mining, right? So probably there'd be a little bit of friction there because then, it might be very profitable, but, probably a little friction because the community would be like, hey, we'd really love it if we had cheaper energy for our house instead of the government having more money, that kind of thing. This, again, doesn't change the fact that a proof of stake mining operation buying energy on the open market, buying energy from the open market is going to be like whatever it is, 1,000, 10,000 times more efficient, right? It's still more efficient to do the same thing, to do the same block validation. So when you have this, when it costs this tremendous amount of money to be competitive, to produce something, and there are these competitors doing it, 10,000 times more cheaply, usually what you're looking at is like an extreme luxury good. Let's say it's some kind of crazy hypercar and it costs 10,000, times as much to drive per mile. Like probably somebody's going to buy it, but that's an extreme luxury good. It's not something you use to build out a whole new financial infrastructure. So even if El Salvador does this and they completely subsidize it themselves, they build out the volcano power plant, they build out their own, they buy mining rigs, they build out their own mining operation, and they just make a bunch of money by mining and selling the Bitcoin. It's like good for the Salvadorian government if that's the plan. That's great. They're still going to get out competed as far as energy consumption goes by the proof of stake operations. No matter how you slice it, we've still only got this much renewable energy, right? And whether it's this much or it's this much one day, I hope, it's going to be a finite amount of clean energy that we're producing. Who knows? Maybe one day we figure something out and we have unlimited clean energy. Then none of this matters. But currently we have a finite amount of clean energy produced on this planet every single day. And the more of it that's being used for block validation, the less can be used to light houses. That's why no matter what, proof of stake was always going to win over proof of work.